Hello everyone, today is first day of autumn 2024, 1st of September. Now it's 11:30 in the morning Moscow time. I'm Levan Gudadze and this is my first update for a day in which I will share all the main news that are making headlines in Russian media outlets and Russian language pages on different internet platforms. It's a Sunday, so I hope you will have a wonderful day, and when it comes to news, there are quite a few very significant developments and news that I'd like to share with you for this moment, and I will start with a short summary of the situation on Ukrainian battlefield. Because it's a Sunday, I will try to make this update as short as possible. And well, let's start sector by sector. Basically, from Kherson region, there was no reports about some significant changes. Both sides, Russian and Kyiv regime forces, are basically conducting local scale operations for control, to establish control over their islands in the Dnieper River and delta of the Dnieper River, and the Russian armed forces conducting long-range strikes on Kyiv regime's formations on right bank of the Dnieper River. Also, we have report that the Russian armed forces conducted some artillery preparations in Novo-Andreevka direction, which may be indicator that Russian troops may become significantly active in Orekhov area in general. Also, we have reports that Russian armed forces conducted local-scale offensive operations in Makarovka direction, and it is a possibility that Russian troops will enter this settlement in a relatively short time. Also, by the way, Russian troops are becoming more and more active in Uglidar direction, and this should be expected because after Konstantinovka became under full Russian control on South Donetsk sector of the front line, Russian troops, as it was expected, conducted increased significantly pressure on Kyiv regime forces in Vadiane area, and the Russian troops are now on outskirts of this stronghold of the Kyiv regime. And if you take a look at the map, Uglidar is, I would not say partially encircled, but I mean, it's only a matter of time, and Russian troops will definitely encircle this town, garnison of Kyiv regime in this town, at least partially. Also, by the way, significant developments are happening in Pokrovsk sector of the front line, of course. As I predicted quite a few days ago, Russian troops are focused now to eliminate enemy forces in this artillery pocket, basically from Krasnogorovka to Galicinovka, Danilovka settlements, and reports are coming in that both these settlements are under Russian control, and Russian troops are advancing towards Zhelanaye first settlement. Also, by the way, Russian troops continue their progress, their offensive operations in Selidovo direction, and Russian troops, according to some reports, are in central parts of these relatively large settlements. Russian troops are further advancing towards Mirgorod area. Also, Russian troops are on outskirts of Sukhoy Yar and Lisovka settlements. So progress on Pokrovsk direction continues. Russian forward units are just about 3-4 kilometers away from Pokrovsk itself, and I'm quite sure Russian DRGs are operating in vicinity of Pokrovsk and surrounding settlements itself at this point. Also, interesting developments are taking place in area of Toretsk. Russian troops establish full control over their Pivnichnaye and over their Druzhba, by the way. And Pivnichnaye, it's a Kirovo, by the way. This settlement, as many other settlements in former Soviet Republic and the name of Ukraine, has two names, and Russian name is Kirovo, Ukrainian name is Pivnichnaye, and this settlement is under full Russian control now. And also settlement Druzhba, by the way, is also under Russian control according to latest reports, which definitely indicates that Toretsk itself is about to be liberated by Russian troops. And of course, operations are taking place inside this crucial settlement on line of contact. No significant changes on Chisov Yar direction, no significant changes on Seversk direction or Kupiansk sector of the front line. But yet again, dear friends, of course, main news when it comes to Kupiansk sector in recent days was the liberation of Sinkovka settlement, because we all know that battles for Sinkovka was taking place for very longer time due to difficult terrain in the area, but Russian troops somehow conducted surprised everybody, and conducted a lightning speed offensive operation in this direction, and liberated that settlement. And when it comes to northern parts of Kharkov region, Liptsi and Volchansk areas, no reports about some significant changes in this area. And when it comes to Kursk salient, well, Russian troops further solidified their encirclement of the Kiev regime troops in this salient, and there are no reports, not even Kiev regime's propaganda outlets are reporting nowadays about any progress of the Kiev regime's and NATO's invading forces in the Kursk salient. Russian troops are basically conducting clearing operations, and just give it another couple of weeks, and most likely Russian troops will reestablish control of the borderline, and then we should expect further advances of the Russian troops to liberate Sumy region itself from Western occupying regime in Kiev. This is it when it comes to short summary of the situation on Ukrainian battlefield. Main news at this point, of course, is liberation of the Kirova and the Druzhba right next to Toretsk city. That being said, let's continue with some other news, and TASS news agency is reporting exactly about liberation of Kirova. This information was confirmed by authorities of the DPR, Donetsk People's Republic, and also Russian Defense Ministry. RIA Novosti is reporting about large-scale Kiev regime's drone attack, or attempt of Kiev regime to conduct drone attacks on Russian territory deep inside Russia. And I don't have statistics on my hand right now, but it may well be that during the previous night, Kiev regime attempted largest scale of attacks on Russian territory, because according to Russian Defense Ministry, air defense systems destroyed 158 Ukrainian drones over their 15 Russian regions. And to be more precise, over the Kursk region, Russian air defense systems intercepted 46 drones, over the Bryansk region 34 drones, over the Voronezh region 28 drones, over the Belgorod region 14 drones, over the Ryazan region 8 drones, over the Moscow, by the way, 2 drones. So at least two drones reached Moscow itself. Also over the Moscow region 7 drones, Kaluga region 5 drones, Lipetsk region 4 drones, Tula region 3 drones, Tambov region 2 drones, Smolensk region 2 drones, and Oryol region 1 drone, Tver region 1 drone, and Ivanov region also 1 drone. So large scale, I mean, possibly biggest attempt to conduct drone strikes on the Russian territory by Kiev regime. And of course, when I say Kiev regime, I mean NATO also, because obviously targeting data is given to Kiev regime by NATO military personnel, first of all, by US and UK. And Russian militaries know this perfectly well, and one should expect some actions to be taken about this anytime, really, anywhere on this planet, because we all know Moscow was very clear when ambassadors of UK and US were summoned recently. Moscow issued warning that if long-range strikes will take place with participation of UK and US militaries and intelligence services, then Russia will retaliate not just inside Ukraine but also elsewhere. And I don't think Moscow was joking around about it. Moscow was very serious, and also, by the way, TASS news agencies report here that during the August, according to Russian Defense Ministry, Kiev regime lost more than 68,000 military personnel killed and wounded. Just in 1 month, by the way, Kiev regime lost 68,000 military personnel, which is of course a huge number. And we all observing, by the way, right now beginning of the end of Kiev regime's armed forces as a more or less capable entity, because on Toretsk sector and on New York, on Toretsk sector and on Pokrovsk sector, by the way, we see how Russian troops basically steamroll Kiev regime's defense lines, isn't it? And I guess Russian troops will take a little pause for a couple of days at this point, because they definitely need to reestablish new lines of supply and support, because progress was very significant. Russian troops are just in a couple of kilometers away from Pokrovsk, and Russian troops already are conducting operations inside Toretsk. And New York, another big city in this area, of course, is already liberated and is under Russian control. RT is also reporting that Ukrainian defense chief visited the Pentagon. So Ukrainian Defense Minister Rustem Umerov has met with the US Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin to discuss additional military aid. The visit came amid a renewed request by Kiev for Washington to lift its restrictions on the US on the use of US supplied weapons for long-range strikes deep inside Russian territory. Earlier this week, Politico claimed, citing anonymous sources, that Umerov and Vladimir Zelensky's chief of staff Andrei Yermak would attempt to pursue their American backers to change their minds. On Friday, the Pentagon's Deputy Press Secretary Sabrina Singh announced that the Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin hold bilateral talks with Ukrainian ministers of defense Rustem Umerov regarding Ukraine's ongoing operations, security assistance priorities. The latter include air defense systems, artillery, and among armored vehicles needed to help Ukraine build additional combat power. Another topic high on the officials' agenda was their upcoming meeting of the Ukraine's defense contact group on September 6. The gathering will see more than 50 of their countries which support Kiev congregate in Ramstein, Germany, to deliberate over plans for more military supplies for Ukraine in order to cover both its immediate and longer term needs. Well, too much talks about whatever meetings Kiev regime's officials are conducting or are preparing with their Western masters, basically. But in reality, what's happening is that NATO member states, significant number of them, have been effectively demilitarized at this point. UK no longer capable to transfer to Kiev regime its long-range Storm Shadow missiles, because UK itself don't really have much left. France is in a very similar situation, and that's why they were so keen, US, to start supplying its long-range cruise missiles, and US promised to do so, and probably number of these long-range US made cruise missiles already being delivered to Kiev regime. But in general, we are clearly seeing that I may be mistaken on that, but my understanding of the situation is that NATO member states are losing appetite to continue a large-scale support of the Kiev regime. They cannot say it openly, obviously, because they invested too much in this proxy war against Russia. But I mean, more and more reports are indicating that this appetite is being lost among a significant number of the NATO member states. But anyways, let's see what will come out from this visit of the Kiev regime's defense minister into the US. I don't expect any significant I don't expect any decisions to be made on of big significance. It's just a media op, basically. RIA Novosti is also reporting that Russian armed forces conducted long-range precise strike on airfield in Kryvyi Rog. This information was confirmed by Sergei Lebedev, coordinator of the Russian underground, pro-Russian underground or partisans in Ukraine. And there was two explosions this night, two explosions on this airfield, which is used, by the way, by Kyiv regime as a logistical hub and also as a command center. There is underground facilities in that airfield in Kryvyi Rog, and I guess it was Russian Kinzhal or Iskander missiles that targeted this command and control center. No details about casualties on side of Kyiv regime, but maybe we will learn some more information about it later on. And of course, I will share additional information on my Telegram. RT is also reporting that US won't send contractors to service Ukraine's F-16s, according to Wall Street Journal. This is quite interesting. I wonder who is then servicing those planes, by the way, if US is not willing to send its contractors. Maybe European NATO member states, possibly, because Kyiv regime definitely don't have personnel that be qualified enough to work on F-16s, and every hour, by the way, of flight of F-16s needs some at least 7 to 8 hours of maintenance work to be done on the on that plane. So the administration of the US President Joe Biden has rejected the Pentagon's plan to send American contractors to Ukraine to maintain Western hardware, including F-16 fighter jets. The Wall Street Journal has reported, citing officials in Washington, the long-standing debate about deploying US civilians to Ukraine to service their hardware supplied to Kiev by its foreign backers has intensified since the delivery of the first batch of 6 F-16 fighter jets to Ukraine in late July. The outlet said in an article on Friday, the White House National Security Council looked into their proposal coming from their military, but deemed it to be too risky. Officials familiar with their decision told the Wall Street Journal, and it is too risky, by the way, obviously, because F-16s are a target for Russian armed forces. Airfields where these F-16s will be located are legit targets for Russian militaries, obviously, and whoever is working on these planes are also target. There is no doubts about that, and it does make sense if US administration will refuse to send at least its civilian contractors. They are sending militaries, and a significant number of US militaries, British militaries, French militaries, German, Polish militaries have been killed or neutralized in the zone of special military operation. We all know that, but when it comes to sending civilians, that's a whole another level of craziness that is required from the Western ruling class. And even though I have no respect for those people, I think at least some of them in the Western elites have some sense, and they are realizing that I mean, sending civilians is just too much, really. It may bring too much negativity for them when Russian troops will neutralize those airfields that F-16s are based, and also whomever will do maintenance of those planes. And if they are civilians, of course, it will be much more difficult for the US administration to hide it, right? They can hide, and they do hide information about casualties among their intelligence services and their military in Ukraine. And US society is not really talking about it because they have no idea that US boots are presented on the battlefield. And same goes for UK or France, for example. But if civilians, if they will start sending civilian contractors, and they will die, of course, it will be much difficult to keep information close in that regard, and society may react on it. For sure, and I don't think they need, especially Washington's administration right now, needs some additional heat, especially during this election period, right? RT is reporting that Kyiv should not expect more long-range missiles from the US, and this information comes from CNN, by the way, and CNN is, of course, outlet of CIA and the Pentagon, right? It's a pure propaganda outlet of the US deep state. So Washington has made it clear that it cannot provide Kyiv with any significant number of MGM-140 or War-40 Army tactical missile systems, which is ATACMS, in the foreseeable future. CNN reported on Saturday, citing anonymous US officials. So yes, by the way, US is also somewhat demilitarized, because if anybody thinks that US has so much a stockpile of weapons that they can send their missiles and their armored vehicles and so on forever, indefinitely, it's not the case, by the way. It's definitely not the case. US has, one should always keep in mind that US has hundreds and hundreds of, up to 1,000 military bases, by the way, worldwide, more than 800 for sure. And in many areas, US militaries are very much not welcomed. And to maintain defense capabilities of these bases, of course, US has to deploy armored vehicles, missiles, whatever is necessary. And therefore, US just don't have so much of those weapons left to throw away for Kyiv regime, especially weapons that are difficult to produce and time consuming to produce, like ATACMS. So I'm not at all surprised that US is backing off now for its own promises that they will support Kyiv regime, whatever, how long it will take, and that kind of stuff. And well, if CNN is not lying, and they might lie, but if CNN's source is correct, then, well, Kyiv regime should not expect any larger numbers of their ATACMS missiles and some other weapon systems also, by the way, from US. RT is also reporting that Switzerland urged to rethink its 500-year neutrality, as if anybody in this world thinks that Switzerland is neutral, by the way. Switzerland lost its neutral status a long time ago. Let's be clear about it. Officially, Swiss leadership may still call their country neutral, but it is not. It is not, and Switzerland is a part of all, by the way, anti-Russian criminal steps that Western ruling class took. NATO and the EU. Switzerland joined all of those criminal steps, right? So there is no way anybody in this world can see Switzerland as a neutral state. I mean, let's be clear about it. So therefore, I'm not at all surprised that some experts in Switzerland are now proposing to change this neutral status officially, because nobody sees Switzerland as a neutral anyway, right? So it is a time for Switzerland, which has been neutral since 1515, to redefine its non-alignment status. A group of Swiss experts have stated in a report ordered by the Defense Ministry in Bern. Critics, in response, have accused their panel behind the paper of bias and insist that neutrality is forever enshrined in their country's constitution. The study committee, which was set up a year ago, presented a paper on the first day with 100 recommendations on how to boost their Alpine nation's security. First of all, and they come up with the idea to officially remove this neutral status from the Switzerland. It does make sense, by the way. It does make sense. I can understand that Swiss people and some public figures in Switzerland may see it as a mistake, because they know perfectly well how much Swiss benefited by being neutral. But yet again, Switzerland was a neutral, even during the Cold War, by the way. Somewhat neutral, but right now, Switzerland is a part of anti-Russian coalition, active member of the anti-Russian coalition, and it definitely does not make any sense to keep this fake neutrality status, because nobody has any trust in Switzerland no more, right? It is just factual. So therefore, in terms of real politics, it does make sense to remove this fake neutral status from Switzerland for sure, and that's exactly what is going to happen, because come on, man. Who on this planet thinks Switzerland is a neutral state? Nobody. Which is shame, by the way, because yet again, I mean, Swiss benefited so much by being neutral, like Finland did, by the way, and like Austria did. And Finland is a member of NATO now. Austria is no longer neutral also. It's just too clear, right? And Switzerland is in the same place. Nobody in this world sees these countries as a neutrals anymore. RT is reporting that the French left-wing party moves to impeach Macron. Interesting that Russian media still pays attention to this individual, Macron, who is definitely probably worst clown that ever took presidential office in France, and France definitely had tradition to put clowns in their position of power, right? I mean, Macron, Hollande, by the way, Sarkozy, I mean, just you name it, by the way, with the exception of very few politicians like de Gaulle, like for example Mitterrand, or like there was another one, by the way. There's a Mitterrand, and also, okay, I forget, I cannot remember now, but there was a few politicians that definitely had that definitely were heavyweights and were respected worldwide. First of all, de Gaulle, obviously, by the way, and also Mitterrand, and I have to remember this name, man. How could I forget? Just a sec. Так. Парам-пам-пам. Let me just, you know, I have to remember, it's like, you know, this one, by the way, Chirac, for God's sake, man, Chirac. So yes, I mean, Chirac was pretty much heavyweight and was respected on the world stage. Same goes for Mitterrand, for sure. And after that, I mean, take a look at this last presidents, by the way. Sarkozy was a clown. Hollande was a mistake of nature, obviously, and Emmanuel Macron is also a mistake of nature. I mean, it's just, I don't know, man. And that's why I'm saying I'm a bit surprised that media outlets here in Russia still pay any attention to this, whatever this is, man. Macron. So yes, France unbowed the party, LFI, part of a broad left-wing coalition that secured the largest share of the seats in July parliamentary election, is gathering signatures to remove President Emmanuel Macron from the office. The move came after Macron refused to appoint a new Popular Front coalition's candidate, Louis Castells, as a prime minister. Okay, good for them, by the way, if they will remove this clown from the office, because world is laughing at France, by the way. France is a laughing stock at this point, for sure. No one respects France. No one has, and no one will, probably, if they will continue with putting in power this kind of idiots, man, like Macron, man. So yes, maybe they will impeach this dirty prostitute, Macron. So yes, man, this is it for now. Relatively short update, just a half an hour. And yes, it's a Sunday, right? So I guess half an hour is good enough for Sunday update, and for any update, really, for that matter. So yes, this is it for now, dear friends. Hopefully you will find this update interesting, informative, and useful. And if so, please click that like button, leave some commentary just about anything, any topic you want. This is the only way we can try, at least, and influence algorithm. To influence algorithm, and for same reason, if you can, please share information about my channel with your friends in real life, or on internet. After all, just about everybody is talking about Russia, right? And there is only few channels that actually are in Russia, and only few creators that actually live in Russia and are citizens of Russia. So I believe there are huge potential audience that would like to watch updates from Russia, but they just don't know about the existence of my channel. And why? Because YouTube's algorithm, by the way, this immensely aggressive YouTube's algorithm that almost never promotes my videos in recommendations. But anyways, dear friends, I have to end this update now. Hopefully, as I said, you will find it interesting. And if you want to support my work, if you want to support my small media project, you can do it, of course. You can donate through PayPal or Boosty platforms, or you can subscribe to my Patreon page and also Boosty page, by the way, where I have quite a lot of extra content, bonus videos. And yesterday, I believe, or day before, I uploaded, for example, second episode of Behind the Scenes a program. And these behind the scenes programs are basically, by the way, videos about life in Russia, everyday life. So hopefully our communities on Patreon and Boosty will find those new programs that I am already creating and I'm going to create interesting. All the links are under this video in the description box and in the pinned comments. And I just, if I may, I will just let you know that a monthly subscription on my Patreon starts from $5. So, and you will have access to all their videos, so it's not really that much. Unfortunately, we were unable to reach 200 subscribers on Patreon, but hopefully we will. Maybe before end of this year, I don't know. So yes, this is it for now. Have a great day and take care.